Thank you so much, Almitri. Welcome and good morning to everybody here today at the Aldea and on Zoom. Welcome to our Sunday service. I'm Susan McDonald. I'll be the service leader today. And wherever you are, right this minute, wherever you're from, whatever your religious background or perhaps none, however you're feeling, happy, sad, worried, scared, hopeful, and whoever you love, you can bring your whole selves here. Our community is stronger and more genuine when we are here with our authentic selves. Me llamo Susan McDonald y hoy seré la líder del servicio. Les damos la bienvenida a todos donde quiera que estén en estos momentos de donde sean, sin importa su religión o su falta de ella. Y a quien amen, pueden traer todo su ser aquí. So before we enter our worship time, we have a few announcements. A reminder that our minister, Reverend Tom Rosiello, will be having his long-awaited hip replacement this coming Wednesday, on June 25th. I'm not looking forward to it, I'm sure, but he will be so happy, as those of us who've gone through this can attest. He'll be happy to receive well wishes for an easy recovery. You'll find his email on the screen here. Yes, Diego? Okay. And at the back of your order of service, in case you want to take it with you. So feel free to send him a little email or card electronically. Here's a little plug for cookies and refreshments. As the chair of the Membership and Welcoming Committee, I would like to encourage everyone to sign up occasionally to bring cookies or snacks. If you can't, or if you don't like to bake, or like me, you have an oven that tends to blow up on you, you can always put a few pesos in the basket, and that'll help us buy some cookies when we're short. After the service, those who are on Zoom with us today are invited to stay connected and visit with others, maybe engage the discussion question that Reverend Mills has provided. If you're visiting on Zoom, you can type your name into the chat box, and others will be able to see it there on Zoom and know you're visiting and can greet you later. If we have visitors here today, would you stand if you're willing, and just so we can see who you are, wave to us, we'll wave to you, and we'll seek you out during the coffee hour and find out where you're from. So who is visiting who'd like to stand? Hi, everybody. We got a big family here, and we got other visitors. Great. Thank you. Those who are with us at the Aldea can, as always, join us for coffee and snacks later and enjoy conversations with others. You can, while you're enjoying the coffee, you can check out our membership and pledge information on the Social Justice Foundation, and let us know if you need any additional information about our fellowship. As a final and fun announcement, Diego is going to bring to us a special greeting from the fellowship that Reverend Mills serves in the Carolina Foothills in North Carolina. They sent us a video to say hi, and we're going to send one back to them at the end of the service. So right now, enjoy hearing from his fellowship.
It's good to see all of you here this morning. On the 10th, my wife and I and our grandson are on our way to San Miguel, in Mexico, to serve for a week as a visiting minister of a UU congregation.
Wow.
And I want to give them greetings from you all. And when I'm there, I'm going to get greetings from them to bring back to you. So could I just hear a greeting, San Miguel?
Greetings.
Well, that's great. We'll have fun giving one back at the end of the service. Diego will help us. So how nice to be greeted by the friendly people from North Carolina. So that was a bit of announcements, and I will now just invite us all to take a centering breath and relax in our seats with a sense of calm and expectation as we enter this time of our morning service. Reverend Mills?
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's good to see all of you here. Our call to worship is a responsive reading, and it's in your hymnal number 440. The title of it is From the Fragmented World. From the fragmented world of our everyday lives, we gather together in search of wholeness. By many errors and preoccupations, by the errors and selfish aims, are separated from one another and divided within ourselves. Yet we know that no branch is utterly severed from the tree of life that sustains us all. We would hold fast to all of good we inherit, even as we would leave behind us the outworn and the false. We would escape from bondage to the ideas of our own day and from the delusions of our own day. Let us labor in hope for a dawning of a new day without hatred, violence, and injustice. In this spirit we gather, in this spirit we pray. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see you, and I'm really, really excited that we have so many students here today, and we haven't seen them in a month, and so it's a little more than a month is great. And I'm, yay! Okay, and I'm going to ask Reverend Ernie's grandson, Ryan, is joining our Young Explorers class today. We're really excited about that. And he's going to be lighting our chalice. Can you come up, Ryan, for just a minute? And you can actually, if you could just maybe stay up here and help us with that while I read the children's covenant. Me alegra decirles que Ryan, you can, oh, you did it already. You can go back if you want or stay. Whatever you want, sweetheart. Okay, he wants to go back, of course. Me alegra decirles que Ryan, el nieto del reverendo Ernie, se unirá a nuestra clase de jóvenes exploradores hoy y encenderá, ya encendió, nuestro cáliz. Please join me as I lead you and our students in both the English and Spanish versions of their chalice lighting covenant, okay? And then we have the hand gestures too, which some of you will remember. Okay, por favor, únense a mí mientras dirijo a ustedes y a nuestros estudiantes, tanto en inglés como en español, con nuestros gestos con las manos. Las palabras aparecerán en las pantallas. Okay, we light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. Iluminamos este cáliz para celebrar el unitario universalismo. This is the place of the open mind Este es el lugar de la mente abierta. This is the place of the helping hands. Este es el lugar de las manos que ayudan. This is the place of the loving heart. Este es el lugar del corazón amoroso. Together we care for each other, for the earth, and we work for friendship and peace in our world. Juntos nos cuidamos unos a otros, cuidamos la tierra y trabajamos por la amistad y la paz en nuestro mundo. Okay, now this is the special part when our children and youth will light their lantern from our chalice candle. I'm going to see if, Sebastian, can you help me with that, sweetheart? And then we take this back to our classroom as part of the rest of the congregation and the service, okay? Ahora nuestros niños y jóvenes encenderán su linterna de nuestra vela del cáliz y las llevarán a su clase para la lección de hoy, que es serenidad, valor y sabiduría. I didn't say that in English, I'm sorry. Their lesson for today is called Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, and they'll be learning about the Serenity Prayer in that one. So please remain seated as we sing hymn number 413, beginning with the Spanish version, as our students go to class. Por favor, permanezcan sentados mientras cantamos el himno 413, comenzando con la versión en español, mientras nuestros alumnos se dirigen a la clase. Okay.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the joy surround you everywhere, everywhere you might go.
Can we do the Spanish? We missed it, or miscued. Thank you all. You can stay because we're going to go to the hymn. So Ernie will be accompanying us for our hymns today and later for a new one. Well, maybe not new for everybody. If we're old enough to go back to the 60s, we might remember Peter, Paul, and Mary, so we'll sing a song by them. But we'll join our voices together. This first hymn is 212 in the hymnal. We are dancing Sarah's Circle. It's the same tune as Jacob's Ladder, so you'll know that one, most likely. And we will only sing verses 1, 2, and 5, and I think that's all you'll see on the screen up front. We won't have you stand so that you can see Ernie while he's playing, and his guitar will, the sound will carry better if we're not all standing in the way. So let's sing the song. Afterwards, I'll have you stand for the covenant, as we usually do.
I'll play through the melody one time, and then we'll go at it. Okay. Here we go. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle. We are dancing Sarah's circle, sisters, brothers all. Here we seek and find Thank you.
Thank you, that's lovely. And now I invite you to stand if you're able and join together in reciting our fellowship's unique covenant. It's a promise we make and daily aspire to of how we want to be in relation to each other and to the world. I will read in English, I'll lead in English, and then Diana Amaya will lead us in Spanish. So the words should be in your order of service as well as on the screen. So English first. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
Thank you. You can be seated. I'm so sorry, I have my papers in the wrong order. We now enter a familiar and very special time in our service, a time when members and friends share with our community the significant joys and sorrows and concerns that they're experiencing. If you'd like to share a joy or concern in a future service, you can email Reverend Tom, and I think even with his surgery, he'll probably still be checking those. Or when you arrive, you can fill out a joy or concern card. They're on the back table. Just make sure that one of the ushers or greeters gets the card and they'll bring it forward. If you're on Zoom, you can enter your joy or concern in the chat box, and Diego will be watching for those and let me know if we see any. Okay, we're going to get ready to go, just like that. We light our first candle for Reverend Tom, who will have his long-awaited hip surgery. While the recovery is never fun, we hope that next Sunday he will share a joy with us, that he is recuperating well at their lake house in Massachusetts. Our second candle is one of some sadness for Tom and Malcolm, whose beloved dog Molly died during this past week. Many of us enjoyed her happy presence when we've been at their home for various activities and celebrations in Los Frailes. Occasionally, we've even seen her little head pop up on Zoom when Tom has been delivering a Sunday service on Zoom, which is always cute. We know Tom and Malcolm will miss her. Our next candle is one of concern to share for Pat Laird, a member of the fellowship and of Las Hermanas. No, I'm sorry, but she's an hermana, who's often behind the scenes as a Zoom host for Sunday services. She's not there today, but perhaps she's on Zoom. She's been home in Austin, Texas for a visit and got some concerning news about her recovery from cancer surgery last year. We hold her in our thoughts and hope that the news from doctors holds a good dose of hope for a way forward in her treatment. Our next candle is a pretty late candle of concern for which we all feel quite apologetic, but currently a joy. For Theo Billings, a longtime member of the fellowship, several of us had noticed she hadn't been around for quite some time, and Theo Billings, and unfortunately, we didn't notice it quickly enough to find out why. We've just recently learned she had serious surgery 2 or 3 months ago. She's been home recovering well with her beloved caretakers, and the care team is now aware of her needs for visits, and she welcomes visitors. Our joys and concerns, not only within our community, but extend to the wider world. Reverend Tom asked for a few expressions of concerns. We'll enjoy the first one, joy and solidarity with the 5 million plus people who participated in the No Kings demonstration last Saturday, a week ago this past Saturday, to protest the current US administration's callous disregard for our Constitution on a daily basis. So that was a huge joy for the citizens of the country. We light a candle to express our sorrow and deep concern for the political violence occurring in the US, especially the murder last week of a Minnesota state representative and her husband, and the serious wounding of a state senator and his wife. And we're just concerned with the level of hatred and propensity to violence that we see in our culture. We light a candle to sadness and deep concern for yet another decision by the Supreme Court, which will deny trans children the opportunity for the medical care they need to live full lives. As we have for over 3 years now, we light our blue and yellow candle for the people suffering from the unprovoked war in Ukraine by Russia. There's always suffering, of course, on both sides of the war, and we recognize the sorrow of so many lives lost and families shattered. We light our red candle, as we have for over 2 years now, for the immense suffering and now starvation occurring among the Palestinians in Gaza. We feel helpless in the face of the escalating violence in the Middle East, including just within the past 12 hours, the unilateral attack by the US in Iran. We hope and pray that the situation does not escalate the way it has in the past. After so many candles of concern for things in the world for which we can do so little, and we can feel quite helpless, this we can do. We can celebrate a milestone birthday of a longtime member. Betsy Davies turns 99 today. I think you see on the screen, yes you do, the lovely photographs. As Jorgen shared, Betsy now enters her 100th year. That's such a huge milestone for all of us. She was a longtime leader within the fellowship, served on many committees, very active with the social justice grants before we began our Social Justice Foundation. She might be on Zoom today. If not, and in any case, Jerry Rosing will deliver these flowers to her for her birthday after the service. So happy birthday, Betsy. Our final candle is one we light for all the joys, sorrows, or concerns that haven't been shared today, but which may be held unspoken in our hearts. As you listen to the meditation music, which Almitri will play, you're welcome to come forward if you wish to light a candle of your own.
Thank you, Almitri. I want to say a few things before we get started here. And I introduced my wife. She's back in the corner back there, Diane. She's from Rhode Island, and I'm from North Carolina. She's a Yankee, and I'm a rebel. She's a retired nurse, labor and delivery. We've been in San Miguel for almost a week now, and I don't want to get carried away, but we love it. And we went horseback riding yesterday all day long in the off and on rain, and we had the greatest time of our lives. And I've never seen such horsemen and well-trained horses in my life. And I told the guy that I would put a punch in for him, but it's Rancho, I hope I'm saying this right, Zotolar. Anyway. I wish I could speak Spanish. The only Spanish I can speak is to say that I don't speak it. No hablo español. But our grandson Ryan has been in a Spanish immersion class since kindergarten, and he's going into 5th grade. So he's learning Spanish. I'm going to say one more thing, and that's I write for 3 newspapers back in North Carolina. And when I get back to home, I'm going to write an article. And I'm going to say that I've been in Mexico for 2 weeks, and it's so great to be in a country where the president and the leader of that country doesn't label Americans criminals, drug dealers, and rapists. Thank you. So I'm going to read from our hymnal. If you want to see what I'm reading, it's number 685. It's from T.S. Eliot. That's what I'm going to read if you just want to see the words, if you're like me and you're visual. So 685 T.S. Eliot. What we call a beginning is often the end. And to make an end is to make a beginning. The end is where we start from. We shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. We're going to look at, or we're going to talk about The Wizard of Oz. Has anybody not seen The Wizard of Oz? Okay. I did some research on that movie. It was the Library of Congress says the movie was the greatest film, most seen film in movie history. And I also found out it's been translated into 50 different languages and shown all over the world. And believe it or not, it was shown even in North Korea. So the appeal of that movie, of that show, of Dorothy, the Wizard of Oz, is powerful. And I chose that story because it illustrates what Joseph Campbell, if you're familiar with Joseph Campbell, has called the title, the hero, Adventure of the Hero. And in 1949, he published a book by that title, Hero with 1,000 Faces. But back to that T.S. Eliot reading. You know, we move in circles. All our lives, we're moving in circles. You left your home this morning. You went out into the unknown world on your journey. And at some point today, hopefully, you'll return home again. So we're moving in circles. And they're not always physical circles we move in. We also move in emotional circles in our lives. And some of us may know that as adults, we oftentimes move out of the emotional wounds of our childhood or the emotional joys of our childhood. We return to those again. And so we're constantly moving in circles. You may move back home today and have discovered something new. So you arrive at the place where you started, you know it for the first time, maybe because you've learned something new. The place has not changed, perhaps, that you return to, but you have changed. So we're constantly moving in circles. In a moment, we're going to look at Dorothy's life, because her life, too, moves in a circle. Even though it's a dream, she leaves home, her home in Kansas, and she goes out on an adventure. She's transformed, and she comes back home again. And that's the same model that Joseph Campbell uses in his book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, is the circle. The hero is called to adventure. The hero leaves, goes out on what Joseph Campbell calls the road of trials, or he often calls it the belly of the well. And every day you leave your home, you're going out into the belly of the well because you don't know what's going to happen. And then she returns. And so that's what we're going to be looking at in a moment. Now, really, that's a story. It's filled with symbolism. And basically, the symbols in that story have to do with fear and power. And those are two primary elements in the human experience, fear and power. So we'll be looking at that, too, in her story, in the story of the Wizard of Oz. So let's get right to it, then. Oh, there is one thing I want to say before that. I want to clarify some criticisms that were leveled against Joseph Campbell about his work on the hero journey in the 3 stages, is that it was seen by some as a male ego trip. The male with his sword slashing through. And I think the critics didn't understand fully what Campbell meant by the hero story. And these are words that Campbell himself said in an interview with Bill Moyers on PBS called The Power of Myth. If any of you saw that, one of the sections was the hero myth. And Joseph Campbell begins that story of the hero myth with these words, and he's talking about the goal of the hero myth, where the hero ends up. And even though it is ego, it is about an I. But it's about an I that gets in touch with powers. We'll talk about that later, though. But here's what Campbell says: where we had thought to travel outward, we will come to the center of our own existence. And where we had thought to be alone, we shall be with all the world. So it's not about this personal salvation. It's not about this me and I. It's about me realizing, coming to the center of my own existence and living from the center. You know, Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, we don't live at the center, we live from the center. We don't live at the center, we live from the center. All that we bring to the world and to the relationships around us, we bring from the center of ourselves and who we are. So we find that center and we live from that center. And that we are with all the world. So there's a sense that we're connected to everyone. We're connected, we're all one. So the hero journey for Campbell ends in that realization and that deep connection, that feeling of belongingness and connection to all people, no matter who they are. So that's the hero journey. So let's look at Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. And I'm going to go through that story. I hope we could spend the whole day on that story. So I'm going to touch on really what the high points in that story are. And, it's a story it's a hero journey about a young girl, an everyday, ordinary young girl in Kansas. So it's not about some great figure. It's about Dorothy represents all of us. So think that, and her coming to grips with fear and her coming to find the power within herself. That's what that story is about. So that's, I'll be going back and forth on that. The figures in that, all right, let me start with the story. Dorothy is a young, immature, adolescent girl living in Kansas on a farm with her aunt and uncle. And she gets in trouble. But as an adolescent, she dreams that she can sort of fly over her troubles. And she sings the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow. If we could just, you know that feeling sometimes, especially when you're younger, I wish I could just sort of fly away from my problems. Where she says where trouble melts like lemon drops. So that there's that adolescent young girl who has not grown up yet, but she's about to have an experience where she's going to grow up. Her dog, now Toto is a special, Toto is a spiritual guide in the story because Toto is the one that gets the ball rolling because Toto bites the neighbor. And then Dorothy and Toto decide they need to run away. They run away, they're caught in a hurricane, they come back home, and Dorothy is hit on the head with a flying object and falls unconscious onto her bed and starts to dream. And she dreams that her and Toto go to the land of Oz. And they go to the land of Oz in the house that she was in. So everything from now on is a dream. She's dreaming. The house lands on the Wicked Witch of the East. She accidentally kills the Wicked Witch of the East. And the first thing Dorothy wants to do when she gets there is go home. And suddenly she lands in the land of the Munchkins, the little people. And that symbolizes that childhood that Dorothy is in. And of course, you can't stay there. You know, you can't stay in your childhood forever, even though that often happens to us. But anyway, Dorothy is there. She wants to go home. The good witch appears and gives Dorothy the ruby slippers. Now, those ruby slippers are the first symbol of power. They represent power. And the good witch tells Dorothy, put these slippers on and don't let anyone take them from you. This is your power. Dorothy doesn't realize they're her power yet. But this is your power. Don't let anyone take it from you. So Dorothy says, okay, how do I get back home to Kansas? The good fairy says, well, there's only one way you can get back home. You've got to follow the yellow brick road and go to Emerald City and find the great and powerful Wizard of Oz, and he will help you get home. So here's where the journey begins for Dorothy. Where's the yellow brick road? Well, you're standing on it. So Dorothy takes off on the yellow brick road and her and Toto. Now, first of all, she meets what? The scarecrow who doesn't have a brain. Now, that scarecrow without a brain symbolizes Dorothy's own brain, her own mind, and the fact that she needs to learn how to think. She has a brain. You know, you and I have a brain. We were born with it. But we need to learn how to use it. We need to learn how to think. Now, you know, thinking is an activity. Thinking burns energy. We all need to learn to think, to use our minds. You know, there's three kinds of people in the world, right? There's people who think, and people who think they think, and people who would rather die than think. Because thinking takes energy. She needs to learn to use, Dorothy needs to learn to use her head, how to think. And the scarecrow represents that. Dorothy needs to learn to think, use her mind. They next meet a tin man without a heart, symbolizing that Dorothy needs to learn to use her heart, the power of the heart, the seat of compassion, the seat of empathy. She needs to learn how to care. And we all have a heart. We all have feelings and emotions. We need to learn how to use them to control them, Dorothy needs to learn how to use her heart. She needs to know how to care, how to know, and how to care. A young man was doing an interview on the street for a high school project once, and his question to people for his project was a simple question: what do you think the two great pressing issues in the world are today? And the first person he stopped, he puts the question to them: what do you think are the two most greatest pressing issues in the world today? And the person responded, I don't know, and I don't care. And that's a problem. That's a problem. That we don't know and we don't care. So Dorothy needs to know, how to think, and how to care. And we're living in a world now, it seems like, back in America, where we have leaders who don't seem to know and don't seem to care. But I won't get carried away with that. Now, Dorothy has the mind that she needs to use. She has the feeling in the heart, the seat of compassion, empathy that she needs to use. These are powers within us. We didn't create those powers. Those powers are within us. We use them or we don't, or they use us. A.W. Allende said, we are lived by powers we pretend to understand. We are lived by powers we pretend to understand. So Dorothy has to understand, know these powers, the powers of the mind, the powers of thinking, the powers of thought, the powers of feeling, the powers of emotion, the powers of caring and love. Now she needs, most of all, to confront her greatest fears. She needs courage. And that's when the three of them, Dorothy, Toto, Scarecrow, the four of them, and the 10 men meet the lion who has no courage. But in order to face her greatest fears, which is the Wicked Witch of the West, who has appeared at the beginning of the story and said, I'm going to do everything I can to stop you from reaching your goal. And that's fear. Fear. Fear is what prevents most of us from ever reaching our goals because we're afraid. Now, I want to say a little bit about fear, but I mean, we could spend all afternoon talking about fear. But fear can be a good thing. Fear is not bad. It's wise to be afraid of rattlesnakes. It's wise to be afraid of falling off a cliff. Fear can save your life, but fear can also destroy your life if you let it. There are healthy fears, there are unhealthy fears, there are rational fears, there are irrational fears. An irrational fear is typically what we call a phobia, like homophobia or xenophobia. Those are irrational fears. To be afraid of somebody because their skin is a different color is an irrational fear. It's not only an irrational fear, it's a form of insanity. So Dorothy has to come to grips with her greatest fear. Now, you have to understand that the Wicked Witch represents her greatest fear. The Wicked Witch is not out there, so don't take the symbol literally. The fear is in her. If I was to ask you to draw your greatest fear or paint your greatest fear, you might paint a witch. Or you might paint what? Maybe you'd paint a snake. Or how would you visualize your greatest fear? When Frank Baum wrote this story, he imaged that greatest fear as the witch. So Dorothy has to come to grips with this, with her own fear. But first of all, she's got to have her brain, she's got to have a heart, she's got to have courage. So she finds all of those. She finally makes, the five of them finally make their way to the great Wizard of Oz in the Emerald City. They finally make their way there. They meet the great and terrible, frightening Oz. And Dorothy says, you can help me get home. He says, well, I can help you get home only if you bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. Now again, we have a symbol of power, which is the broomstick. It represents power, but it also represents fear. So the witch, the fear, is holding the power from Dorothy. The fear has the power over Dorothy. Dorothy has to get that power. So she accidentally throws water on the Wicked Witch, and you know what happens. The Wicked Witch dies. But notice in the story what happens when the witch is dead. All of her guards cheer. They're happy. They're happy that the Wicked Witch is dead because there's been an emancipation. There's been a freedom. And that power, Dorothy now is able to take that power away from fear, and she has it herself. But she has the greatest obstacle ahead of her yet, aside from the Wicked Witch, and that's the wizard himself. She takes the broom back to the wizard, and he says, well, that's not enough. He says, you're going to have to wait a while before I can get you home. At that moment, Dorothy shows her courage. She confronts the wizard, and here comes Toto, the little spirit guide. He pulls the curtain and exposes the wizard as a humbug, as a deceiver. Dorothy realizes that she's been deceived. Now, you may want to interpret that whatever way you want to, but I interpret it as the man behind the curtain is sometimes the man behind the robe, the symbol of power and authority. And what that says to me, what I think Frank Baum was saying to me was, don't surrender your power to the person behind the robe. You have that power. Don't surrender that power to that person who is holding it, that you have given it to. Nelson Mandela said, we're afraid of our own power. We're afraid of our own power, so we tend to want to give it to someone else, to have power and authority over. So to me, that symbolizes, it symbolizes the realization on Dorothy's part that I have this power. And that this great and terrible Oz has turned out to be a fraud, a humbug. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who wears a robe is a fraud. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that oftentimes that symbol of power is abused. And the Catholic Church has dealt with that, the abuse of that person behind the robe. But I'm not saying that all people behind it that wear that symbol of authority are corrupt. But it's a warning to me that it says, again, don't give your life over to someone else. You have the power. You have the power to live your life from your center. Find that center and live from that center. And don't be afraid. I could ask you right now, what is your greatest fear? What is your greatest fear? What are you afraid of? What's holding you back? So find that power, live from that core, from that center. Now the story is, the Oz is exposed as a fraud, and but then he says, well, I can take you home, Dorothy, back to Kansas. If you get in my balloon, we'll fly back home. And here again, Toto saves the day. Dorothy gets in the balloon. Now, to me, that's a symbolism of her just going off into nowhere. She gets in the balloon with Toto. Toto sees a cat. He jumps out of the bloom, and Dorothy goes after Toto. Toto saves the day. And then the good witch appears again, and Dorothy is frantic because she doesn't know how she's going to get home. And the good witch says, Dorothy, and I want to quote what the good witch says to Dorothy. You've always had the power. You know, there's a song, I don't know if you know the group America, but they had a song and a line was in it. Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. Dorothy had all these powers. You have the power, I have the power. You've always had the power. And then the scarecrow gets a little angry and he says, well, why didn't you tell her she had the power? And the witch says, because she would not have believed me, she had to learn it for herself. Experience. Experience. That's how we learn, through experience. In my tradition, in Methodism, the tradition I left and found my freedom, in that tradition, Bible first, Bible at the top, tradition second, church tradition, third, reason, last, guess what? Experience. But that last. Well, what I love about UU is we flip that around. We say experience first, reason, tradition, and the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or whatever you choose. So experience. She had to experience it first. And then she had to learn it for herself. The scarecrow says, what did you learn? And here's the quote. If I ever go looking for my heart's desire, I won't look any further than my own backyard, because if it isn't there, I really never lost it to begin with. Now, to me, that backyard is the core, is your center. It's right there in your backyard. All the power you need to live a good, full life, a loving life, is here. All the power you need to be truly who you are and not be afraid to be who you are or not to be afraid to become. All the power you have within you to love and be compassionate, it's right there in your own backyard. You don't need to go out there. You don't need a guru. For me personally, Jesus' greatest teaching, you are the light. You are the light. What do you do with that light? What are you doing with your light? You hiding it? You put it under a bushel? Are you afraid of it? You are the power. You're the light. Buddha's greatest teaching. You are the Buddha. You are the Buddha. The Hindu greatest teaching. You are the Atman. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it whatever you want. But you find that center and you live from there with courage. We are in a country now, back home in America, that is in the grips of fear. We are in the grips of fear. But we've got to find the courage. We've got to find the courage to face that. Like all those millions of people did a couple of weeks ago. With courage, they got out and they protested. But we have a leader now who is trying very hard to put us completely in the grips of fear. Now, the story's not over yet, because Dorothy clicks her heels, like you said, and she wakes up from her dream, and she's been transformed. So you can be transformed through your dreams. Your dream world, you can be transformed through your dreams. She wakes up from her dream, and this, to me, is the climax of the story, what she says here. She says, I dreamed I was in this place, And all these things happened to me, and I'm transformed, and I'm here now. And of course, her Annie M plays down and says, it was a bad dream. But then Dorothy says, okay, I don't care. It doesn't matter, dream or not. Here I am. She says, anyway, Toto, we're home. And this is my room. There's that Buddhist awareness. This is my room. I'm here in my room, and you're all here. And I'm not going to leave again because I love you all. Because I love you all. Now, I should ask every one of you to come up here and say to the congregation, I love you all. That's the end of the journey. That's where it ends. Now listen, every day you and I are on the journey. We leave our homes. We leave our home. We go out. We're on the journey. We face fears. We find our friends. We find our foes. We come around and we come home again. Every moment of our lives, we're on that journey. We're on that journey. Trying to discover our power, trying to overcome our fears, to move out of fear, to live a life of compassion and of empathy. Thank you all for listening. I could thank a whole bunch of people, but I won't do that now. We're probably running out of time, but we're going to sing now, right?
Yes, we will, any minute.
Okay.
Well, I never knew anything about The Wizard of Oz, apparently. I'll have to watch that again. This is the time in our service when we are reminded to think about and commit to the value of generosity in our lives and in the world. All kinds of generosity. We can be generous with our time, with our money, our spirit. This morning we're going to do things a little differently. Reverend Mills will lead us in the song Somos el Barco, a song known perhaps by many baby boomers because it was well known and sung by Peter, Paul, and Mary back in the day. And the words will show on your screen. There's only a few words in Spanish. They're mostly English, but we thought that the kids might like to hear the music and listen to Ernie play. So we will sing this through first, and at the end, then we'll pass the baskets. So enjoy.
We'll start with a verse where the stream sings it to the river. That's where we'll start. Stream sings it to the river sings it to the sea sings it to the boat that carries you and me. Somos el barco, somos el mar, yo navega en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. The boat we are sailing on was built by many hands. The sea we are sailing on, it touches every land. Somos el barco, somos el mar, yo navega en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. So with our hopes we set the sails and things. Are the words not right up there? Or-
We set the sails.
Okay, so sorry. Sorry about it. With our hopes we set the sail and face the winds once more. And with our hearts we chart the waters never sailed before. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. The voyage has been long and hard, and yet we're sailing still, with a storm to help us hold together, if we only will. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. Last line. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll pass the baskets. Would you strum while the baskets pass through? This song into our final hymn with Reverend Mills, Love Will Guide Us. And again, you can remain seated. It helps to be able to watch Ernie play and to hear the guitar. It should be on your screen in a minute. And it's in the hymnal 131.
Are we ready? All right. Love will guide us, youth has tried us, hope has pied us, we'll lead the way on the road, reap and giving. Love will guide us through the dark night. Guide us, truth guide us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the
Ernie will now share closing words, and we'll hear a postlude from Al Mitri.
Well, thank you all for listening, and I'm going to close with some words from a song by Pat Humphreys called Swimming to the Other Side. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart, I'm gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who've come before me band together and be my guide. Loving lessons I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never knew they were there. We can balance on the brink of wisdom, never recognizing we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side.